Hey, what's up? My name's Shane. I'm an alcoholic addict and stuff. No, actually, the wrong group, wrong people. That's not the purpose of this. I do have 28 plus years clean and sober, but that's not the purpose of this intro. It's just supposed to be an intro to my life story, myself, whatever. And for that, I'm just going to read these 3 paragraphs I have written here at on the back cover of my book, autobiography I wrote 4 years ago, but this is not a plug for my book. If you need motivation to break out of that cage and live an energized, fully engaged life, this book is for you. Or, in other words, my life story is for you, and I hope you get something out of it that can help you. This is my story about surviving a traumatic brain injury and being comatose for a couple of months, practicing alcoholism and drug addiction for 4 years, being in numerous accidents through the years, and now living with multiple sclerosis. And of course, since I wrote this book, I've taken up running. I'm an avid runner. I'm an ultramarathon runner. I am on a never-ending run streak I started. Today is day number 687. I'll have 2 years of my run streak coming up next month. I just keep running and keep going, keep moving forward, keep progressing. I also give you, the reader, a glimpse into how I stay motivated and inspired to endure this life with a smile on my face. And this here, I was going to start out by saying this here's a little story about how my life got all flipped up, turned upside down, and well, that's paraphrasing Fresh Prince or Will Smith, so I'm just going to say, that life, what can you say? It just keeps on going, it keeps going on. It's like Simon Sinek. I was watching a video on YouTube. Simon Sinek was talking about his book, The Infinite Game, and it's geared more toward business. But I think about it like life too. He defined, his title there, The Infinite Game. Okay, he defines, like he says in his video, the finite game is defined as a set number of players, set rules, and a defined and agreed upon objective. There's a certain number of players on the diamond. On a certain number of players from each team on the diamond, play by certain rules, and there's a set number of innings you play till. You don't get to you don't get to the end of the game and the losing team says, well, actually, if we could play 3 more innings, we can pull up, we can pull ahead of the other team and we can win. Just watch us. Nope, that isn't how it happens. You get to the agreed upon objective, game over. Infinite game is defined as unknown players. There can be an infinite number of players. The rules are changeable. And the only objective is to keep the game in play as long as possible. So far as that goes, I'm living an infinite life. I'm just trying to keep it going as long as possible. And, of course, these days living in positivity and gratitude. And just moving ahead, progressing. All right, and this here's a little story about my life. I grew up I was a boy genius, essentially. Started reading the news. I was reading the newspaper fluently when I was 3. And it just went from there. I was a little entrepreneur at like 7 or 8 years old. Little entrepreneur early on, before I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I supported myself for a whole summer. Maybe I did it for 2 summers, but I know I did it for 1 whole summer. My dad had built me a nice fort out on the side of our house. I lived out there a whole summer, except to come in, go to use the bathroom or take a shower or bath, and I had a Sterno stove. I cooked my own food. I ran a Kool-Aid stand out in front of our house. I didn't franchise like Gary V, but I did have a Kool-Aid stand. I supported myself all summer with that. Went across the street to the store and bought cans of soup or boxes of macaroni and cheese and supported myself that way. Or went to the Army surplus place and bought rations or more supplies. Yeah, and that's how that went. And I was in the gifted program at school. And then we moved, and just a couple days after my 11th birthday, I fell out of a tree 40 feet and suffered a traumatic brain injury. Friends and I were looking for a good place to build a fort, and I saw the opportunity to go to the tippy top of this tree and see over everything in the entire area. So I attempted, and a branch broke near the top, and I fell 40 feet and I suffered a traumatic brain injury, was in a coma for 2.5 months. The doctors told my parents there was, sort of no hope, was what they were giving my parents at first, telling them, okay, it's looking pretty bad. He'll probably never walk, probably, never wake up, be a vegetable the rest of his life. And as they showed signs of improvement, they kept bettering their prognosis until it was like, okay, he may wake up and he may walk, but he'll never ride a bike again, he won't ride a bike again for at least 5 years after he's able to walk, if he's ever able to walk again. Well, I woke up from my coma and looked over, and there's a wheelchair sitting next to my bed. They're at Orchard Park Nursing Home, and I wasn't down with that. So, I made up my mind right then and there that I was going to do everything in my power to walk again. And before I left that nursing home, I remember I was in PT and walking down the hall with the assistance of the physical therapist holding up my left arm, since my left side is paralyzed, and trying to get my left side to work again, and me holding onto the rail along the wall on my right side and walking down the hall slowly but surely, and then moving right along to rehab there at Good Samaritan Hospital in Puyallup. I clearly remember him telling me in physical therapy at the children's therapy unit there at Good Sam, my physical therapist would often ask me to do exercises or move a certain way, and if it hurt or it was hard, I would sometimes say I can't, or I said that a few times anyway. And finally he tells me he knew I was into Star Wars, he knew I liked it and was into Yoda and knew of him, and I'm like, anyway, I said I can't. I remember saying I can't one time, and he finally says, his name's Larry Murray, and he says, Shane, sorry, I'm clearing my throat, not him. But Larry says, Shane, I don't want to hear you say I can't. I want to hear you say, I will try harder, Master Larry. And, in paraphrasing Master Yoda. And so from then on, that's what I said. Ow, but I will try harder, Master Larry. At any rate, yeah, here I am, 30 years later, still trying harder, Master Larry. No, but I had sort of a hard time in junior high and high school. So far as, I don't know, it was sort of easy. I sort of gave up on myself, I guess. I started smoking cigarettes, drinking and doing drugs in 7th grade after I did okay in the 6th grade. And, you know, I only went to half my 6th grade year. They passed me right through. That was right after the brain injury. 7th grade, I started smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, doing drugs. And that went for 4.5 years. Somehow made it through school during that time, doing all I was doing and running away from home all the time. Finally hit my rock bottom when I was 16 and a half. And, you know, finally I got to the point where it was like, I got in some trouble with the law, was locked up in juvie for a couple days, and got to thinking about my life and decided that if I kept on doing the things I was doing, going the places I was going, hanging out with the people I was hanging out with. Sorry, I'm dehydrated from all the running I do and not drinking enough water. But I decided that if I kept on doing the things I was doing, going down that path, I was going to end up dead or locked up forever in a day, and one of the two would happen right quick. So I decided right there not to drink or do drugs anymore. And I haven't since. And that was 28 plus years ago. But here, you know, but so far as like a career or anything, I've never had a career other than being a dishwasher at restaurants. I've been a dishwasher at different restaurants for so many years, various times. But so it's like, you know, here 4 years ago, well, 4.5 years ago or whatever, I decided that I had read books by, watched videos of, heard them speak millions of times, different motivational speakers and authors, you know, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Oprah Winfrey, there's Tony Robbins. I could name many others. Since I started writing my book, since I wrote my book, I've gotten into Gary Vaynerchuk, and others, and I'm sure there's many others I could list off, but they're just not coming to mind right now. Moving right along, I was watching a video of Brendan Burchard one day, and he was mentioning, you know, talking about how everyone's an expert in one thing or another, and why don't they write a book on it? You know, that's one thing you can do. So I decided right then and there that, sure, I'm an expert. I'm an expert on alcoholism and drug addiction and recovery from that as it applies to me in my life. I'm an expert on multiple sclerosis as it applies to me in my life. I'm an expert on traumatic brain injury and living with that as it applies to my life. I'm an expert on so many things as they apply to my life, you know, so I can write a book on it. So I decided to write my autobiography. Besides that, people have been telling me for years that I have an inspiring story, so I figured why not put it in print and maybe inspire the world. And hopefully that's what I do. And, you know, I'm looking to change the world maybe a little bit and leave a legacy. You know, I figure I might as well put everything I've been through, you know, besides being useful to myself, make it useful to the world. You know, but it's like I met Gary Vaynerchuk when he spoke down in Portland back in 2017. He ended up picking me out of the crowd. And maybe because he saw I had initiative, maybe he just wanted to help me, maybe he just wanted to be kind. Anyway, for whatever reason, he flew me back to New York, where I spent the day with him and his team at VaynerMedia. They helped me out a bit with social media, helped bump me up a little bit, blow me up, what have you. Yeah, and it's just grown from there. That's how I met the guy who's putting this video online, or this video together, is Jesse Lasseter. He saw me on Daily V, one of Gary V's videos on YouTube. And we connected on Instagram, and because he likes Gary V too, and so that's how we became friends. One of these days, maybe we'll actually get to meet in real life. But it's just like I'm creating content all the time. I have a podcast, interviewing people all the time. Well, not all the time, but I just a couple days ago interviewed a life coach who's from and lives in Mumbai over in India, and it's like, what, that's like so far out. I would have never expected to do that, but here I am doing it. Same thing with airplanes. I would have never expected to fly one, but I've flown one. Yes, I flew a Cessna 172 just for 1 hour. Took the introductory flight, and so I flew it. And at any rate, and I'm looking at writing another book, possibly doing it all online as an ebook. Just speaking. I want to be a speaker and just get my story out there and help people. And in the meantime, my latest job is dishwasher at Trapper Sushi. Due to this whole pandemic we got going on with the coronavirus, positions at the restaurant have been cut. My position was cut due to limited service and not needing so many people on. So currently I'm doing deliveries for DoorDash in my local area here in Tacoma, Washington. And that's in the interim. I applied for and have a full-time position coming up with Amazon, working their warehouse. But that's what I'm all about. Just keep on moving forward, keep doing stuff, keep progressing. And it's like, life goes on, I was married for 15 years, and it ended up, we ended up going separate paths, and I wish her joy. She's on her path, and I'm still on mine. And it's like, I don't know. Life is phenomenal, It's like there's ups and downs, but it just, in the long run, it's perpetually going up, progressing, getting better. I would, back in the day, if you would have asked me if I would be where I'm at today, or if you would have asked me way back in the day where I would be today, if this was like 20 years ago, I would have sold myself short, definitely. One of my good friends, he used to say his life was super fantastic, and if you didn't believe it, you'd have to follow him around. And I didn't necessarily follow him around all the time, but I saw him quite often, and his life, from what I saw, it was super fantastic. Well, I say my life is phenomenal, and if you don't believe me, follow me around. It's just like that. I love life, and I don't know. I was asked to share a little bit about my life, so there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks. Ciao.